Goldeneye is just one of those games that invokes memories galore. Iconic levels are everywhere, and everyone who played this game back in the day will have different choices as to what levels were their favourite. But not all levels can be great, in particular when you're trying to loosely tell the story of a James Bond film released 2 years earlier than the game was released. Yes, that actually happened. Some of these levels lend heavily from the movie, others go completely in their own direction, with some wildly varying results. I figured since I've gone through the game without taking damage, and you can check that playthrough out on my channel, I might as well rank the levels by how much I actually like them. And just to be clear, this is my personal ranking. I'm not expecting everyone to agree or even understand. I'll be ranking these levels based off my enjoyment and how much I look forward to playing through them whenever I boot up Goldeneye. Let me know in the comments what are your favourite levels and what are your least favourite levels from Goldeneye. Look, I've always hated Surface 2. It's basically the first surface level with mood lighting and more respawning enemies. The level remains wide and open with vast snowdrifts and a small number of buildings dotted around. Some of these are locked and demand you trek around to find a way in, some are empty and completely pointless. Perhaps the most annoying thing is that the objectives really don't do anything to shake up the experience from the first time you were here. On higher difficulties you have to hunt down the security cameras, including this one which is so obnoxiously placed that I genuinely think whoever approved it is actually a real life James Bond villain. Fear not though, you'll be sniped, chased and gunned down by hard to see enemies who blend into the darkness. You'll have enemies charging at you from the word go in this one, and they'll never stop coming. If you aren't careful, you'll be cornered into one of the many small huts and meet a grenade propelled end. I do like the music on this one and the general vibes are nice, but the level is lazy and the objectives are so run of the mill that it's hard to say that this level is anything but bad. Streets is that level which everyone remembers because it was so cool to drive the tank from the movie and blow up cars, but actually going back to play it, yeah, it's got a lot of issues. The level itself is basically a bunch of straight roads with guards, soldiers and cars blocking your way. Occasionally you'll hit a bunch of landmines and need to deal with them, usually under a hail of fire from nearby guards or rocket launchers screeching from the distance. Not helping things is the fact that random civilians will run into the road and end up under your tread as you turn them into mush. Do this enough times and you'll be forced back to the level's start to relive the torment. I think what really sinks this level most is that it relies entirely on the tank for it to be any fun, yet the level is much easier when you jump out of the tank and actually run past all the enemies. Unlike the movie where you're chasing a car, here you're not, and outside of the timer on the higher difficulties, there's no real sense of danger or urgency. Even on the higher difficulties, the time limit is so generous that there's never really any sense of threat. You're more likely to get frustrated at getting lost on the way to the exit than anything else. Honestly, it's a very lackluster level that's fondly remembered for its gimmick, and that's fine, but as a gameplay experience, it's very tedious and very dull. It's also very dark for some reason. Do people in Moscow not have any lights? Let's be fair, there really isn't that much to say about Runway. It's a straight road with some turrets at the end of it. The funniest part of this level is realising there's a tank and using that to steamroll over enemies so early in the game. I do like that this directly is lifted from the movie, and I feel as a closing segment to the opening levels, it works. However, as a level all to itself, it's very bare bones and incredibly short. It ticks all the right boxes, but putting it any higher feels a bit dirty. This level is very much a stub and exists to follow the flow of the movie and push the story of the game forward. I will say though, and I've always felt this since I was a kid, this level would have made an amazing multiplayer map. Depot falls between streets and train, two of the most iconic levels in Goldeneye, yet there's a reason that this level really gets brought up with those two. Between its brown and grey buildings, you'll be dashing between almost identical storage rooms, trying to complete objectives that are not overly fun and frustratingly hidden. Endless spawning enemies can quickly tally up, and on higher difficulties the level becomes a game of cat and mouse as you attempt to outrun the many guards that will be giving you pursuit. It doesn't help that this level bathes itself in darkness, meaning you'll be pretty much guaranteed to wander into an enemy ambush when you try to move between buildings. Its objectives are tedious and it only serves as a distraction before train. It's really hard to say much nice about it, in my opinion. I know it has a lot of fans out there, but for me, this is the level that I'm always rushing through because I just don't like it. The endless spawning enemies, the turrets that fight back aggressively, and even the level's layout just don't do anything for me. Surface is a level that wants to wow the player, but it quickly loses its charm. There's nothing overly wrong with the level's layout, it's just a lot of walking and exploring. The firefights with guards become repetitive, the layout frustrates, and the lack of interesting things in most of the buildings quickly diminishes the desire to fully explore the level. I also once again feel that the objectives let things down here. It's another mission where you'll be doing busy work, but here it feels a lot more unfocused. As I mentioned, there's a lot of empty buildings here, and your first few playthroughs will see you hunting through them all, desperately trying to figure out the way forward. The music on this one is pretty great though, and the visuals offer up something a bit different. I don't hate this level, and I feel with some additions and improvements, it could be a lot better. I feel that outside of the wide open design of this level, there's really not much interesting going on. But it is really cool to get to explore such an iconic location from the movie. Goldeneye loves reusing levels, and Bunker falls hard into this trap. What really trips Bunker 2 up for me is its mix of awkward objectives and an enemy system that will see you fighting wave upon wave of relentless enemies. I do appreciate that this one wants you to explore the entire level, but on higher difficulties the lack of ammo can become a pain, and those hordes of enemies can be really sluggish. This is also one of those levels where specific guards have specific keycards and items. If they do something weird like move across the level to chase after you, you could easily lose sight on that keycard and be forced to restart in frustration. What I do love about this level is that the intro to it is very unique. You've been captured and are introduced to Natalia, who is being held in captivity next to you. The interactions here are pretty fun, and the way that you get out of the cell is very unique. Unfortunately, this is also the first mission where you have to escort Natalia through a level, and her AI can be incredibly frustrating. Basically, this level has a bunch of fun moments, but it all falls apart in a frustrating mess on the higher difficulties. Archives is super frustrating. The level itself is designed to be something of a labyrinth and only gets worse once you unleash Natalia into the mix. Her hapless AI is the stuff of legends, but she really does have a habit of running into the middle of gunfights at the worst moments. She'll run off if you shoot too much near her, adding to the sheer frustration as you have to drag her out of the attic and hope that no one has spawned in your way. It also doesn't help that there's so many things in this level that want to blow up, usually when you're stood right next to them and when you least need it to happen. Exploring this level isn't all that fun either. There's not really much to see or find outside of the main objectives, and once you've got Natalia out of her interrogation room, there's really no point in trying to do anything else but finish the level as quickly as possible. The opening interrogation is easily the best part of this level. It complements the story, but everything falls apart as you move beyond that into the labyrinth of action. I'm just not a huge fan of the decisions that bring this one together, but at least it's not overly long. The first of the two extra levels in Goldeneye also happens to be the worst of the two. This level throws in the golden gun, which is really fun to use, but then also throws in one of the least inspiring levels in the entire game to use it in. Getting the golden gun requires you to walk over a floor puzzle and not trigger the turrets. Trial and error basically. There was no way you could work this out without dying many times, and many people had to resort to walkthroughs. You'll be moving between large rooms, taking out enemies barely hidden behind posts, and occasionally fighting the Baron in very straightforward battles. It also has infinite spawning guards and a boss fight that you'll have to repeat 3 times. It really feels like a disappointing use of all these ingredients. I love the aesthetics of this level. It does stand out and it does feel really fun to explore, but given that this has nothing to do with the actual movie itself and how linear this level gets at certain points, I really am not a big fan of this. I feel like this is a very odd level. There's definitely a lot of potential on the table here with the golden gun and the boss fights that get repeated. However, the way that they're executed just leaves me feeling disappointed, and this is kind of a weird way to end the Goldeneye 007 experience. Cradle is one of the most visually unique levels in any FPS. It's just a shame that it's also incredibly repetitive to fight on. Trevelyan will run around the cradle begging you to shoot him until he finally gets tired and lures you onto the ending platform. The ending battle is really intense and offers up an exciting climax as you try to avoid being blasted into the sky, both by Trevelyan and by the guards who can shoot you from above and really ruin your end of game feel. It's just a shame that the rest of the level just feels a bit rough. Infinite respawning enemies who have a habit of raining shots on you from long distance with little recourse brings the experience down. On higher difficulties you will need to know where all the body armor is located because you'll inevitably be needing it. I appreciate the movie accurate locale, and I do like that this feels like a true challenge to end the game on, but being truthful, there isn't really much level here to rank outside of that final encounter. Chasing Trevelyan down does get tiring, and once you've blown up the computer, all you're really doing is running around and shooting him until the game decides it's time to end things. Visually it's a very fun level, and and in moments it does have some challenge. I just think outside of the visuals, there's nothing really that stands out about this level. When it comes to the two bunker levels, I definitely prefer the first outing over its larger but less focused follow-up. I feel this level does a great job of incorporating narrative into the game and manages to deliver a more varied experience. This level sees you escorting Boris to the servers and making sure that he does what you need him to do. There are a few objectives on this one, like copying the Goldeneye key and snapping a picture of that map. These missions are kinda unique because you don't really do much of this elsewhere in the game, but interacting with Boris, clearing out all the enemies and making sure he doesn't run off and try to hide on you is a fun part of this one. Unlike its sequel, you don't have to worry about infinite respawning enemies unless you trigger the camera alarms, so it's got a fun vibe to it. It's nothing too special, but it does fit the Goldeneye vibe really well, and ultimately I'm glad that this level is in here. Caverns is a good level. The design sees rooms go from tight and compact to vast and stunning. The use of metal walkways and futuristic doors makes this level feel unique among everything that you've experienced to this point. The firefights can be intense, while the variety of weapons opened up gives you a choice in how you want to approach things. It's just a shame that the level is so damn long and has objectives that feel underwhelming in this space. Destroy 3 sets of computers? Is that the best we can do this late in the game? I do like that one of the objectives is tied to an area where there can be explosions, thus making it very easy to fail the mission if you're not paying attention. The close to this level is also incredibly intense and sets up Cradle pretty nicely. The level has a very nasty surprise if you hang around after chasing Janice off, which will serve as a reminder not to stand still in these games. It's a unique level and one that really does an excellent job of delivering on atmosphere and fun. On the one hand, I love that this level goes all in on trying to recreate the insanity of the movie setting. It nails that atmosphere completely. On the other hand, it's probably the most confusing and easy to get lost level in the whole of Goldeneye. It's so easy for new players to take a wrong turn and circle back on themselves, thus losing the will to live as they pass the same piece of statue for the 10th time. There are some iconic moments in this level though, and the race back to the level to save Natalia adds some real fun spice to proceedings as the level fills up with shotgun wielding goons. The fact that the objectives are unchanged in all difficulty really points to the fact that this is more of a story mission over a gameplay one, but that doesn't mean the gameplay is bad. There's a lot of tight corners, narrow spaces, and interesting locales where you'll end up in firefights against enemies. There's also a lot of Easter eggs hidden away in this level if you're willing to look around. I also like that the helicopter's black box can be flung into one of half a dozen locations, making it feel a bit more dynamic than a lot of the levels we've seen so far. In my childhood, I hated this level. It was very easy to accidentally get the hostages killed, or kill them yourselves as they wander aimlessly around in your field of view. I also hated how some parts of this level are incredibly easy to mess up on, including the areas where there are bombs and lots of enemies who like to shoot into the small rooms. With time though, I've come to appreciate how open this mission is, letting you chase objectives in whichever order you choose. Despite the fact that it's not a large level, it makes great use of the spaces that it creates to challenge the player. I also love how confined some of the areas are in this map, making firefights feel intense as you're surrounded by guards who are desperate to take you down. Frigate hits the sweet spot in not outstaying its welcome and delivers a fun romp that gives the player a lot of control over how they experience the levels. Those bombs on the bridge though can absolutely jump in a fire for me, as long as I'm not near them. The opening level of Goldeneye also happens to be one of its best. Dam serves up a great slice of what players should come to expect from Goldeneye as a game, from the sweeping intro which feels cinematic, through to the ending bungee jump which perfectly captures the essence of the movie. From the pillboxes where enemies shoot you across the courtyard, to the guards who are standing on top of the watchtowers waiting to take you down. It's an experience that teaches the player the game without holding the hand too tightly. Then there's the first time that you step out onto the dam itself and realise the true scale of what this game has to offer. The level even throws in some really clever things to help give you a better experience. The truck which slowly snakes its way through the level can serve as mobile cover if the player chooses to do that. If you grab a sniper rifle at the start of the level, you can take out guards on the watchtower and across the courtyard if you choose to. The objectives also encourage exploration, making the player seek out new spaces and teaches them that they can't rely on the beaten path to get them through the levels. I think the only issue I have with this level is the long green corridor of dullness, which I understand might be aesthetically fitting for the level. However, as a gameplay experience it does feel very linear and it's a very dull experience to make your way down this. The computer room at the end does have an objective in it, so you will have to head down this way, but ultimately for me I just don't think it's a strong part of the level. Outside of this though, I really like everything about this level, and I think that as an introduction level to Goldeneye, this level really serves a hit. After fighting through so many bases and dark outdoor locales, it's nice that Goldeneye flips it on its head and delivers a unique experience. This level forgoes background music for the most part, opting instead for a more natural sounding ambience. The level sees you taking out turrets, fighting Xenia on a bridge and entering Janice's compound. Along the way there are ambushes, surprise attacks and a lot of grenades if you're playing on the higher difficulty. But what really helps this one out for me is actually Natalia, as she proves to be a very useful partner here. She's able to defend herself and can even help you out of tight spots if enemies try to sneak attack you. It's sad because she never does this again in any other level, and I'm glad that they chose to use it in this level where visibility isn't always the best. Some will decry how linear this one is, and I've used that against some of the levels in this ranking. However, for me, this level really does a great job of making you feel like you're in a jungle. I think the encounters here are fine-tuned to challenge the player at this late stage of the game. The only thing that really brings this level down for me are the respawning enemies right at the level's end. The vast amount of respawning enemies in this area means that you'll eventually run out of ammo if you don't play a more gung-ho style and actually take on the guards. I find it a bit frustrating that after a level that kind of encourages you to take your time, at the end there's this sudden urge to rush you along. But outside of this, Jungle is a very fun level for me. Deeply linear, but it has a unique atmosphere and enough interesting moments, including that bridge fight, to really help it stand out. Control is one of those levels which people either love or hate, and there's good reason for that. Its mixture of rock and bass aesthetic, blending the two very well to create a fun hideout for you to explore. There are plenty of choke points where enemies will challenge you, and the objectives require you to case the level out for the best results. There's a lot to explore if you let yourself do that. The thing that most people remember from this one though is the sequence where you have to protect Natalia as the enemies spawn in. If you're playing for the first time, the sheer terror as the sound of glass shattering fills the game, and Natalia utters those infamous James I words will haunt you until your final breath. Learning where enemies will run and realising there are ways that you can make it easier for yourself makes revisiting this level easier. There's body armour and plenty of ammo if you know where you're going as well. There's also encounters with both Boris and Trevelyan in this level. Both of these are very fun and crowd-pleasing encounters and help to set up the penultimate level. The opening section can be a bit of a drag on the higher difficulties. The use of turrets here can be very frustrating and can also make the rest of the level very difficult if it chips away at too much of your health. But overall, I really like Control. It's a fun, challenging level that serves as a great first step to the final part of Goldeneye's main mission stories. And honestly, even when Natalia dies, we all win really, don't we? Silo, alongside Train, really showcases the kind of game that Goldeneye could have been had it not made the switch to first-person shooter. A lot of those on-rail vibes still remain. Because of this, there are so many encounters with soldiers as you make your way up the silo and try to beat out the timer. While the level lacks exploration options, it does make up for it with some of the most intense encounters in the entire game. Enemies will hide, lob grenades, and do everything in their power to stop you from making your way to the level's exit. The level also requires you to keep an eye out for objectives. If you miss one, you're going to have to make your way back down the silo with the timer still running. But I'm a big fan of Silo, namely because it doesn't focus on things that it doesn't do well, it just homes in on the things that make it really fun and memorable. It's a fun, adrenaline-filled experience that doesn't outstay its welcome and focuses on its strengths, which I really appreciate. I also love shooting Orm off at the level's end and breaking the James Bond timeline forever. Maybe this is why we got the Daniel Craig movies. Here's the thing, Train shouldn't work. It's the most linear level in the whole game, and yet by the end your heart will be pounding from the adrenaline and the fun time that you've just completed. Every room in Train is a unique challenge and requires you to think about your tactics. Enemies will make clever use of boxes and doors to chip away at your health. They'll come from locked doors behind you, forcing you to tread carefully. The ending sequence with Natalia being held hostage is intense and requires quick thinking on the player's part, followed up by one of gaming's single greatest moments as you finally get to make use of that laser watch from the movies. I love the sense of atmosphere in this level, and I also love how much attention to detail has been made in creating this train level. The creative use of a very limited space cannot be understated on this one. I genuinely love this level and adore every part of it. It's the level that showcases how great the core gameplay of Goldeneye truly is without bogging the player down with overly complicated level design. It's a tight, well-crafted experience that truly showcases how great Goldeneye is as a shooter. While Egyptian is a disappointing mess of a bonus level, Aztec raises the bar in quality and just shows how much respect the developers had for the series. The transition from Aztec pyramids to tech base is so well done, and you'll find yourself being engrossed in the world created within this level. From a launch ignition sequence that forces you to move quickly to get out of harm's way, all the way through to the laser fights that take up the back half of the level. There's so many clever design choices that really help to make this level stand out. Even down to the fact that right at the start of the level you can choose to jump down the pit and face Jaws head on, or you can work your way up to him from behind by going through the bulk of the level. It's little design choices like this that really make this level stand out. And of course, this is the level with that Jaws fight, easily one of the best boss battles in the entire game. And of course, it has the best weapon in the game in it, the laser weapon. Like, how can you not like this level? Aztec is a level that showcases Goldeneye at its true best. It's challenging but intriguing, fun and gorgeous to look at. This is Goldeneye at its very best. Well, almost very best. No other level in Goldeneye quite captures the spirit of the movie like Facility, while also delivering a standout level. From the opening moments in the vents through to the moment Trevelyan gets shot, this level excels at making you feel like you're playing through the movie. The objectives take you across the level naturally, and there's just enough difficulty to keep it challenging. You'll explore the early areas, see all the labs, and even get a peek into areas that don't need to be in the level but help to make it feel more fleshed out. The fact that you're also forced to explore the level to find the iconic Dr. Doak because he can move around between different locations is actually a neat touch. And it needs to be said, the encounters in this level are fun. It's a challenging level, and by the time you reach the end room, you'll feel like you've lived through the movie. There's so much iconography from the movie that makes its way into this level, including that final scene where 006 is executed, and everything that follows after that. This level embodies Goldeneye, looks amazing, and has an atmosphere that stands out. And then of course there's the fact that this is probably one of the best multiplayer maps that you can play in Goldeneye. This level has it all, and that for me is why Facility is the best Goldeneye 007 level. Let me know in the comments if you disagree with my rankings. Which level was your favourite Goldeneye level back in the day?